Good evening, America.
Hola.
Welcome to episode 7 of the Thursday Exchange. We have an excellent episode for you guys tonight.
We're already on episode 7?
Episode 7. We got special guest Dickie Baxter, okay? Great guy, Reader's Choice Best Real Estate Agent, okay?
And the guy has a great online presence too. Like, he does quite a lot in the community. So we're looking forward to having him on at 8 o'clock. So make sure you tune back in at then, if you're not still here then, to tune in at 8 o'clock.
It's definitely going to be an informative episode, especially the way the housing market is. This is going to be a unique perspective that you guys are all going to want to hear. Yep. Tonight, we're going to be doing heavy focusing on charities, all aspects of charities, supporting local businesses, and volunteering. It's something that's very dear to me. I've done a lot of volunteer work over the years, as well as Stefan.
Yep, and we'll give you some ideas of, if you, like, in the past, like, I haven't been able to donate money in the past just because of, being a student or whatever. But if you have a talent, there's other ways to contribute. So we'll go over more of that as well. Yeah.
So we got an interesting episode. And as we typically do, we have some current events, people.
Let's let them roll.
Okay. For those cat lovers out there, I'm not a cat lover, but I know a lot of you guys are. A cat went missing, found 4 years later, 600 miles away from Texas, found in Arkansas in a neighborhood, just wandering around.
You sure they didn't just like spray paint the cat and like mimic the name or something?
It's wild. It's, miracles do exist. I mean, your missing dog, your missing cat. A lot of people say rest in peace, mittens or whatever. And now there's a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stories like that.
I really hope so, because a friend of mine, she recently, her cat, well, I guess it's not that recent, it was about a year ago. Her cat ran away, and they thought they saw her almost a year later, and they haven't seen her since. But it was kind of weird. It's like, that's really bizarre. Like, have you been living out in the wild this entire time?
Talking about cats, yeah. A Texas lawyer, okay, in the middle of a virtual court hearing,
I saw this.
He turns into a cat from a filter, and
at the end of it, he's like, "I'm just gonna keep going. I'll just do what I have to do as a cat."
And he just couldn't do it, and he had to clarify to everyone watching, the judge and the other defendants. I'm just clarifying that I'm not a cat. Imagine.
And I don't know how to make it go away. I'm trying.
So this is the problem with modern America, modern technology. Some things on your phone you got to be careful with. I've had issues with you send a picture to the wrong person, maybe grandma. You're having a professional conversation
with that.
You're having a very professional conversation, an interview, and a filter goes across your face that might not be too appropriate.
Or you send a picture that you find hilarious, but that maybe mom might find a little controversial.
Exactly. So technology these days doesn't matter. Yep. You're not safe.
There's always somebody watching or listening. You think about it. Every time you get on the dang computer, they have the little cell phone cover or camera covers for the phones and computers. I don't have them. I'm like, well, I don't got anything to hide, but best of luck to you, bro.
Listen, Big Brother, I feel, is always watching. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but sometimes I'm sitting on my computer.
Patriot Act.
It's a whole topic in itself. But your webcam, you don't know who hacks onto your webcam and can see into your house. As you see behind me, I have this lovely backdrop. For those of you who've watched with the Catskill International Film Festival, there were some things that I learned from the very first year. One is to turn your mic off. Two is to block whatever else. If you don't want people crawling on the floor behind you to be seen.
Last week.
Yeah, it's important to your house privacy, everything else that's going on.
I now have my black backdrop. It was sitting in my car last week. I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. And then next thing I know, I'm like,
well, some people listen, people think that you and I are sitting in a basement somewhere. Well, actually, I'm not. I'm in my house. I'm in my office. Yet,
I'm in a bedroom.
Yeah, I'm in my office, but I would choose not to have my entire house broadcasted. You see my Fonzie, jumping to catch treats or bones in the background. Or
And for anybody who doesn't know, Fonzie is his dog. Love the little bugger. It's
yeah,
cute.
but yeah, it's a lot of interesting stuff. Apparently, a tour guide out in Australia, they found a message in a bottle 42 years later, and the message simply says, "If you find, you cash in a reward." And there was an address printed on the very back. However, water damage made it unreadable.
No.
This is like the fantasy that everyone.
You sure some kid
wanted.
didn't like scribble that and then throw it in the water and be like?
Apparently, it was from April 1979, so it's a pretty old message. And the fact that the front was legible is pretty amazing in itself.
Yeah, must have a good cork.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's always like everyone's like biggest fantasy is like walking along the road and finding like a buried treasure or a suitcase full of money.
I mean, I'm happy when I find a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, a quarter. What can a quarter buy you nowadays?
A part of a parking meter toll. Yeah, not much at all.
Maybe like, do you know that? Talking about quarters, just to jump into that random, but I just found out recently that a lot of laundromats are getting rid of the quarters. They give you a card that you put money on, like a debit card.
It makes so much money on, and it also unlocks the bathroom so people don't just wander in off the street. And
you swipe, cha-ching! No more quarters, people. Who would have known?
Oh, they've been doing that for a while now. Like when I was in Middletown, I had an apartment out there, and I used the laundromat in Middletown. And yeah, basically, whenever I would go in, I was really happy about that because I didn't walk out with my pocket going like yanking my pants down. $20 worth of quarters.
Listen, that's a great segment into the next story. Chicago man, what's the wildest thing you've ever done to reserve a parking spot?
Stood in the middle of it, and at the behest of someone else, they're like, "Do not move from this spot." I'm like, "Sorry."
I mean, a long time ago, with my cousins, we were pulling into a parking spot at a marina in Buffalo, and this lady literally dived into the spot. And my cousin, stubborn as he was, he just said, "Screw this! I'm parking here. I'm not moving." So he kept on trying to inch his way in, and I almost literally got into a physical altercation because the woman's husband, thought it was like socially acceptable. It was more of like a privilege thing. He was like, we own a yacht at this marina, and it's like a public area, public park, for tourists to walk at. But he has a yacht, so we're more entitled to this spot, even though you got here first. And his wife literally like laid down in the freaking spot.
I'm sorry, I would have videotaped that.
Well, this is like prior to like everyone having these smartphones. I mean, probably at the time I had like one of those flip phones with like all the keys, and I thought it was the coolest motherfucker on the planet. But if you ever try to get a video on there, everything doesn't matter if it's a fresh recording with perfect lighting, everything looks like it's buffering. Like, doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
But this Chicago man's got it down pat. You know what he does? He freezes a pair of his jeans, stands them up, and places them in the front of his parking spot. That's how he gets it. Okay? So it's basically like a naked ghost, or not a naked ghost, but a ghost wearing pants is standing in your spot.
I could think of some ways to make that a lot more amusing.
I mean, there's actually he actually was.
I mean, that's very creative. Like, we pulled a prank on a kid when we were in. Finish what you were going to say, and then I'll tell you. Go ahead. I
mean, this guy was literally so proud of his endeavor that he went ahead and put a how-to tutorial on how to freeze your pants so that you can also go put your pants in parking spots. So he did. He just said,
"Wait, you need a tutorial how to do this?"
Listen. At first, I was like, how do you get your pants to stay hollow like that? Well, this guy's got a method, okay?
Oh, you mean like they were fully like...
Well, yeah, they were like... Basically, they were hollow pants. They weren't just like a pair of pants standing upright. They were standing upright, but they were like there. He soaked the pants first, okay? Put them outside about 20 minutes, okay? Then, this is when, 20 minutes in, you could shape the pant legs, okay? Make sure they're nice and hollow.
I guess it's like, it's kind of malleable at that point.
Give it another 20 minutes and it's solid. Then you can pick the pants up and put them wherever you want. And, this could be very scary. It could probably do really scary, like tricks on people. But when in doubt, some people might use like traffic cones. Some people might, put a chair in a spot. This guy puts a pair of pants. They're probably Wranglers because Wranglers are fucking like rock solid. I'm not endorsing them in any type of way, but if you ever felt Wranglers, they could probably take a goddamn bullet.
So what I was going to say before is when I was, it must have been 8th grade, I guess. We went on a church group. We went on a confirmation retreat with our church, and boys will be boys. We like to play pranks, and there was this one kid who was like bugging the crap out of everybody the entire weekend long, and everybody was like, "We're gonna get him." So we waited until nighttime. We grabbed all of his clothes, stuck them in hot water, and put him in the freezer. Laid him out on his car in the morning for him to find, but not before trying to transport him while sleeping on his mattress from the frame all the way out into the hallway. Finally got to the door, and someone bumped it into the side. He woke up. We're like, son of a bitch.
So is the worst. Those are the people that should be targeted.
It was pretty awesome, though, because the priest came out the next morning and was like, what were you guys doing? Like, really?
It's too real. Those are the type of people that when they ruin those, those nice tricks and those nice gaffes on people, they're the one that needs to be targeted next.
Along the similar lines of reserving your space, obviously not by freezing something, but they've come up with this new device where you can actually there's a magnetic plate, and it's a personal alarm system. So it has motion sensors built in, so it'll immediately if somebody moves your computer or tries to walk in front of something, rather than holding a whole system, it just basically sets off this really nasty alarm. And you can even actually use the app to use your voice message, be like, "Get away from my car." So it's
well. The problem is you actually have to get in the spot first.
Touche.
This is the chicken before the egg, Stefan. The chicken before the egg.
You know what? Stick it to the pants.
Yeah, the pants seems like a great idea. Now
if
we have
pants talk to you. You have a problem.
Listen, talking about a similar story. I mean, I guess we're getting close into the Valentine's Day spirit. Okay, we got 3 more days. Okay, we're gonna get into Valentine's Day,
Plan your sabotages accordingly.
There's a Kentucky animal shelter that's raising funds. Now, they're having kittens poop on the names of the donors' exes. So you give them a couple bucks, they write your ex's name on the bottom of a litter box, and they have cats shit all over your ex's name. How cool is that?
That's really vindictive.
Listen, people are going above and beyond.
There should be a clause in there where you have to fill out whether or not the person is pregnant, because you don't want to be sending cat crap to a pregnant person.
Well, you're not sending crap to them. You're just putting their name on a litter box at a shelter for a couple bucks and allowing cats to tinkle and poop on them. Do you remember that story a couple weeks ago with the Texas Zoo who was offering donors basically we'll name a cockroach or a rat after your ex? It's kind of the same thing. People are making money now getting back at their exes.
Yeah, I'm still. Let's work on getting relationships going.
You know what? I have a few exes that I would definitely give a few bucks so cats could shit on their name. Hell, yeah. I would even shit on their name.
More information than I think we needed to know, but all power to you. So on a completely different note, recently a couple of Indian climbers who they were basically recognized back in 2016 for making it to the summit of Mount Everest. Turns out they lied, and somehow I don't know how they got away with it, but basically when it came down to the point where they had to provide evidence that they had actually done it, they're like, crap. So now they're banned from being even allowed on the mountain for the next 6 years.
Oh my God. You know what? We were talking about this about, being honest people and stop lying and stop posting false information.
Stop posting selfies from up here because we all know you're hiding something. It doesn't look like you.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. Just be who you are. There's someone for everyone. But beyond that, come on now. You're lying about stuff. There's so many people out there. You see these articles in the paper, and the reason why we tell these funny stories is sometimes these funny stories aren't as funny as the fucking serious ones. And that's why we always do the funny ones first, then the serious ones, because people out there aren't honest with themselves. You got people out there that are like, They're printing out fake degrees online and becoming dentists, and they're actually extracting teeth at dental offices. You know, you got people out there printing out, you know, fake permits and going and doing things they have no skill set to do. And, you know, there's people working jobs with, you know,
just
fake
look at
resumes.
the online dating thing. Like me, of course, I chose to start dating again right when a pandemic strikes the planet. Great timing. But, you know, that being said, I've been on a few dates where the person who showed up was not the person who was in the pictures that was sent. Like, I took this last night, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's sad. It's not even it's not even a shell thing. It's really, let's be honest. And one of the worst things ever is when you would sit with somebody and there's a look of disappointment, and it's not your fault. It's like, whose fault is it? You lied to me. If I told you, listen, I'm driving, you know, a Beamer, okay, or I got a Ferrari.
You realize you said Beamer instead.
Yeah, I'm driving, you know, this, and I have a $500,000 a year job, and I have a, you know, a mansion, you know, whatever, and I got 6-pack abs, and then you meet me, and I'm like fucking in my mom's basement, and looks like I eat nothing but milkshakes. And
you just have to, you know, manipulate and search a bit to find it.
There is actually apps out there, and I don't know why. When I'm on like Instagram or whatever, Facebook, I always get these stupid. I don't know if it's because I edit pictures and stuff like that for like films and posters.
It's the algorithm,
but they're watching me, I guess. But there's pictures that show like a guy like me who's like editing like his bare chest into like rock solid abs, and I'm like, why are they advertising this to me? Do they think that I like pull stunts on people? Like, look at my rock hard abs, baby girl. Like, no, that's not me. I don't do that.
Because you tell so many people about it and your computer's listening to you. Hey,
stop
you ever notice
to me.
like if you have an Alexa or something, or even if your computer, you start talking about something, you'll notice it showing up in your newsfeed or your advertisements. Like if you start talking about it enough over the next few days.
Oh, dude. The thing is, you know, my setup in my house, got a lot of computers, you know, I'm always doing something, like whether it's a festival, whatnot. But Christmas is a very suspicious time in this household. I gotta like tiptoe in my Jordans and like delete my cookies in history immediately, because every phone, if I'm looking up a certain gift, everybody knows what it's going to be, because it's on every ad, on every computer, every tablet. Even if I wasn't on that, it's like whatever the Wi-Fi service is. It's like, oh, somebody's looking up, you know, gaming software. My girlfriend's like, I wonder who this is for. It's getting scary.
Case, yeah,
they're watching us, people. They know. They know.
I'm looking at gaming software. It's for me. I'm not gonna lie. But.
Yeah. So we're going on to the serious stuff now, and like we said, some of it is actually more strange than the funny stuff.
Okay.
We're on day 3 of Trump's impeachment trial. Okay. I don't know where he got his defense attorneys from or the strategists, and this is not politically driven.
Family Dollar,
Wish.com. I don't know where it what. Yeah, I mean, his other team ran off beforehand. Now he's got people that, even if you're against Trump, you could probably figure out a better strategy than what they're coming up with here. Even he's upset with how the things are going, apparently. There's a lot of people that are extremely frustrated now, and it's a lot of controversy going on right now. People are saying, why are we even focusing on this?
Yeah, I mean, we want him in the next presidency. I mean, granted, the guy, you can't let him get away with basically, you know, with the evidence that's come out, it's pretty clear. It's like whatever good you may have done during your presidency, and that's, you know, people will debate yes or no to that as well. Whatever good you may have done, you undid in that one day, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, that's a debatable point. But at the same time, people are like, you know what? Right now, the economy is a major problem. Unemployment is the worst it's ever been. You know, that's what a lot of people. I've been seeing tons of stuff like
somehow.
Well, yeah, because people, it's a sad reality, and I get a lot of debates with people. The problem is, a lot of times you see in the stock market, you're talking about wealth, the wealthy buying, and it's not always the little guy that it's, you know, like, oh, the stock market's up, so that means the economy, and that's not always statistically proven that they're one and the same. Like, okay, the middle class are doing well now because the stocks are booming. No, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
Especially right now. I mean, if you look at 90% of the families hold less than 1/4 of the wealth as of last year. It's even more drastic now in this year with everything that's happened. Like
you said, 1/4 of 1%, or
like the bottom 90% of families. This was back in 2019. They were reporting 90% of families held less than 1/4 of all the wealth in the world, pretty much. In the United States, but now it's even more than that because once they started shutting all these businesses down, like if you're a small business, you can't recover from catastrophic loss as quickly as Walmart or Sam's Club I guess it was the same company, but you get the point. If you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you're able to weather the storm, and you're also able to, there's a good that comes from it in some sense because they're able to provide, like Walmart, for example. You go out, they're providing food to your local food banks most of the time. Walmart, Costco, any of these big companies. Like if you go to a food bank, quite often it's nearby to one of the superstores because they throw away thousands and thousands of dollars worth of food on a daily basis. And, so they donate to charity. So that's a good thing. But, it's also, they get a pretty good tax break for it too.
That's a good thing. That's a good incentive.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of businesses should adopt.
Yes.
Smaller businesses too. Just on a small note, just because I thought about it, but I remember I was going to a local donut shop. It's a very popular chain. I'm not going to name the name. We all know what it is.
Crispy?
It ends in an unkin. Okay. Oh. So it ends in an unkin. But anyways, you go there. It's about, 8:45. You go there at night. You go buy yourself a donut. Okay. 9 p.m. They put all the donuts in a black garbage bag and they throw them in the dumpster.
Hey, if you're hungry.
No. Well, see, that to me, that's messed up.
Yeah, it is.
That's insane mistreatment of food. You're putting it in the trash. Well, if any of you who are watching have ever read The Grapes of Wrath on a small scale, this reminds me of like the scene towards the end of The Grapes of Wrath when you get the starving family and you got food rotting in the fucking river.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with even with our vaccines right now. Like they produced all these vaccines, took so long to get them out. Half the people didn't get them when they were supposed to get them. And now there's 3 other variants in the meantime that have come out and be like, well, guess what? I'm making another one.
Mm-hmm. I answer a comment. Sorry, I was going to answer a comment. Josephine, if you ask for them, they will give them to you. You posted. Well, honestly, this is honest. I have actually reached out to a few. And even if you're there at closing time, the people that might be doing it are doing it backwater. They're not to give it to you. They're not supposed to.
No, they can get a lawsuit.
Yeah, because you're eating. There's so many people will do it, but they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart, and they're doing it behind closed doors. The company is certainly not endorsing them giving out food. A lot of them, because they're afraid of repercussions of lawsuits, someone getting sick. You didn't purchase the item. They gave it to you for free. There's a lot of that extra nonsense, just to add to that comment. But
yeah,
definitely don't rat out who it was, because they're good. They should be heroes in my book.
Yeah. Well, when I went to the Culinary Institute of America, that's where I graduated to become a photographer. Go figure. But I went to the school, and I remember walking out back when we had to clean up after class. We're cooking food, gourmet quality food that we're getting from all these places, and it's just at the end of the day, you're literally from every classroom having a minimum of one full-size industrial garbage can, a blue one that's specifically for food waste. It's not even the other garbage. So you walk outside, you have this steaming dumpster, like a construction dumpster that's about 40 feet long, just piled to the top with, they have to rake the food in, basically. It gets used for compost and stuff, but they're not allowed to donate that food because in the past they got lawsuits from people. Mm-hmm. So it's all this premium quality food that could feed pretty much Dutchess County, Orange County, Sullivan County, all of them together more than likely on a daily basis, and it just gets tossed away because they're not allowed. It's too risky financially.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely, and it's a fact. It's a fact. We're going to get into these topics. These are we're we're kind of hitting on the topics that we're going to get to later. And these are juicy pieces of charity that sometimes sound a little twisted, and, you know, to understand how things kind of work with these businesses. So there's been a CBS poll recently, jumping off this, going on the next topic. CBS poll, Congress passing the new economic relief package. Okay. In this poll, there's an 83% approval, while 17% disapprove. And it's through the wall, across the board, has bipartisan support. Now, what's in this bill, people say? What is in there?
Well,
in this
you use the same argument. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, in this bill, they got the $1,400 direct payments. This is the $1,400 after the $600, so that would make $2,000. But this is the $1,400 direct payments, $400 each for federal unemployment added, $2,000 child tax credit. This is money going towards nationwide coronavirus vaccine delivery, funds to open up schools safely, expanding eviction ban through September, and relief for businesses. So to me, this is a bill in high demand. And a lot of people are saying this could take months now.
Well, think about it. How many people still haven't gotten your check? I haven't.
Yeah, we're going back to the stimmy, people.
Yeah, I know we bring it up every week, but it's kind of like people are like, I got my money. I'm like, yeah, screw you.
Dude, when people were first getting their checks, and when you're like you're out there and you're working, and people are like, oh, it's only $600. Well, when you're working and that $600 pays possibly a majority of your rent, you know, I'll take it.
And if you're not working, that pays for pretty much everything else that you could possibly, or maybe it covers your rent and you still then are in a shithole for food. Like, I mean, you have to then get approved for food stamps. And if you do get approved, based on the income of your family, you may get anywhere from a reasonable amount to like $15 a month.
And I've seen it happen to people.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen where people literally had nothing and they were approved for $12 a month.
But even $50 a month, like, which is like, I've seen that more common, like $50. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, you can get a decent amount of groceries if you're frugal. You know, if you got 2 or 3 kids, that $50 ain't going to go very far. Well, especially if you have to buy baby formula or anything like that.
Yeah. If you have 2 or 3 kids, but the problem is it's such a weird way the system works. If you have a couple kids, you're getting like $1,100. If you,
in Australia,
as an individual,
like to have kids because they give them so much more payment for welfare for it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be pro or against. I mean, welfare is understandable, but the whole point is you want to get people back into the workforce. So if you want to, the problem is when this pandemic first began, and there's a lot of people who are healthcare workers or essential workers who you can't blame them for being pissed off that they got zero type of incentive bonus boost pay, and the ones that did went up,
ourselves included,
minor quarters, you know, pennies on the dollar, peasant pay, while, you know, people that are being incentivized to stay home and keep it safe are getting oodles of cash. I mean, they're able to pay for things they never could afford prior to. You know, people are like, you know,
I got new Jordans. I got a
they're
TV
buying,
set.
Buying computers, buying new laptops, you know, they're setting up their business stuff because they're getting like funds that they never had before, which is,
and then when
I'm not complaining.
I'm not complaining either, but
I'm not blaming them.
Up, you know,
it's kind of messed up that the working people or the people that are working, oh yeah, they have their job, so they're not screwed. Well, they're also risking their health too.
And they're also earning what is now minimum wage. Less than that.
I talked about this in our first or second episode, which we're on 7 now. In our first and second episode, I remember saying it. Like, I remember, you know, essential employee, you're a hero. I remember driving through the drive-thru at McDonald's and like a 14, 15-year-old had me my drink. And I'm thinking to myself, is he expendable? I mean, how much is his essential worker boost pay that you see? Like, I'm on Indeed all the time, so I see these like really interesting they like caviar bonus, like boost pay, baby. What is that boost pay? Like, is that $3 or $4 more an hour? Which I'm being generous for saying that. Is that dollar extra an hour?
That would be for most people like a blessing to have that. Like, because think about it.
How much
People
money
are
are they
not-
making?
Like, well, when I was working in the doctor's office last year, I was earning $14 an hour. No, $15 an hour to work in a doctor's office with faulty equipment, no face masks that were adequate for N95 usage at the time because no one knew what was going on. No spit shields, reusing gowns that had holes in them. And I was getting $15 an hour to be the one scanning you at the door with a thermometer. You think people are not going to be a little bit resentful about that? I know I was.
Yeah, and that's what the whole point of the matter is, breaking down the thing is, this package needs to get passed. People need to keep their politicians, what's that word? Accountable. People need to keep them accountable and make this happen. This shouldn't be, oh, we're going to wait until, because what they're doing, they're not slick, guys. Think about it. What is right around the corner? Tax season. So they're probably going to wait until tax season dries up because a lot of people in low income or whatever, they get a certain boost of finances during this time. Therefore, well, the economy doesn't need it. They're thinking probably in their heads. Maybe we'll let this wait until like summertime or when the virus isn't so much, and then the $1,400 becomes $300, and the unemployment becomes $100 bonus extra. Like, no, we need it now. On top of taxes, people are screwed.
If you look at unemployment, for example, like as someone who's been on it, like I can say that it really opens your eyes to, like, yes, you want to have an incentive for people to go back to work. However, in a situation like we've had this past year where everything basically just kind of the bottom dropped out in a lot of ways, like we're clawing our way back. It's going to take a while to get there. But when that happened, people realized, like, hey, wait a second, that unemployment payment of 4-day work week at a reduced rate of what you earned while you were working, while it's supposed to be an incentive, it's also almost like a death sentence, because in order to get that, you're not allowed to pick up any other work to make any extra money, because then you reduce even now, if you do any extra work, it reduces the amount of money you get on unemployment, which is, I understand. However, they're now adding these extra payments because they realize people can't live on what was considered minimum wage in addition to having more taken out for unemployment. Like, you can't. Not if you live in a city. Like, if you live in New York, you're going to be homeless.
Exactly. Or you got to have to like move in with your whole family, have everybody paying a percentage of your rent.
Share the bed bugs.
Oh, God. So the last story that I have for this week before we get into the hot topics, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, nominees, okay? They got Jay-Z, Foo Fighters, Rage Against the Machine, Kate Bush, Iron Maiden, Mary J. Blige, and LL Cool J. Who do you want to get in there? Because these are just the nominees.
Mary J. Blige and LL Cool J in a rock. What did they rock about?
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame really it's more of a pop culture thing now. It's not really rock and roll. I mean, not for nothing, Jay-Z in my mind is a rock star. And, Kate Bush, when you think of Kate Bush, you don't think of, she's a rock star. When I think of Kate Bush, I think of a legend. I think of a lot of artists snatching this lady's style and running with it. I mean, you listen to her lyrics and her beautiful voice and the way she composed her music, and she kind of got forgotten about after the 80s and into the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know who she is.
Well, if you don't know who Kate Bush is,
I'll have to look her up.
A lot of people know Kate Bush from the Maxwell song, A Woman's Work. Beautiful song, amazing song, but she did it first.
You gonna sing it for us?
Oh, no.
No, don't.
No, I'm not gonna do it. But she's amazing. I think they're all awesome. It's really kind of interesting too that Foo Fighters, David Grohl, the lead singer of Foo Fighters, if he gets in there with Foo Fighters, this will be his second inductee. He's actually in there for Nirvana. He's the drummer in Nirvana. So it's pretty amazing how like you could be in not one, but two legendary bands. To me, that's like incredible. Literally just saw a ghost.
Sorry, guys.
So anyways, we're gonna go on the next topic because We have a lot to talk about.
Where's
so
that
much
cat filter when you need it?
Exactly. The cat filter.
Jesus.
So, in observance of Black History Month, okay, February, a lot of people are unsure why we celebrate Black History Month in February. Well, there's
Don't
many.
bite our heads off. Let them finish.
No, there's many different reasons. I mean, the answer lies with American historian Carter G. Woodson. Okay, he pioneered African American studies in the early 20th century. We also know that there's two notable birthdays in February. You got February 12th, Abraham Lincoln, who issued
407 years ago.
Yes, who issued the Emancipation Proclamation. And of course, the American abolitionist and author Frederick Douglass. Okay,
And
his birthday.
just let me stop you right there for a second. If you get a chance, like ever, to go to Gettysburg and listen to like them do like reenactment of like reading that speech out by the battlefield, it puts things in a lot different perspective. After like go on the tour, look at like the lay of the land and see where all these people struggled with life and death and like all this conflict, and you see the damage that was done. And then at the end of it, you hear Abraham Lincoln's speech being read out by somebody like a voice actor or whatever it is. You know, it's done like a cheesy bus tour, but at the same time, like the impact of those words after seeing that, if you get that opportunity, I would highly recommend that because it puts things in perspective.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. All those type of tours are really good. The Civil War reenactments are really amazing. But going back into Black history here, in the 1940s, you know, there was an empowerment movement where a lot of these people were putting together Negro History Month. Okay. In the 1960s, we had the major American civil rights movement where Negro History Week became Black History Month. Okay. And in 1976, President at the time, Ford, urged all Americans to participate in the observance. Okay. Now, we still have a lot of way to come. So a lot of people say, well, why do we need Black history if, you know, it's American history? Well, because a lot of times, you know,
history is written by the victors.
History is written by the victors, and the people that are underprivileged get overlooked. And Black history is beyond learning about slavery and racism. You know, it's to put a spotlight on the achievements of Black people. Yep. So that's one of the main things that I think
it's basically the same.
Really is the focus.
Black entertainment TV, because, like, you know, like that was a big thing. Like, why do we have that as versus something else, like, you know, Spanish entertainment or whatever the case may be? But it's, you know, it's to highlight the things that people have accomplished. At least initially, that's what it was supposed to be. Now it's become like everything else, reality shows in a lot of ways. But
so a notable figure. Last week we did a lot of the inventors, Black inventors who, like, a lot of our everyday products, the telephone, the light bulb, were created by Black people. But a notable figure, we were just talking about, Frederick Douglass. We got some fun facts for you people. And a lot of things people are going to be like, what? How? It's amazing. See, Frederick Douglass was born a slave. And he was born illiterate. He did not know how to read. And his biggest dream was to tell his stories and read and write and speak to the people. And when he was young, he bartered bread for knowledge. He saw a bunch of white kids playing, and he was working at the time in a kitchen, and he had taken bread scraps, and he literally bartered bread scraps for them to teach him how to read a book he had. And they did. Yep. He then went on later to teach other slaves how to read. Like, how amazing is that?
So don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything, because if a guy who is literally a slave can find a way to get himself educated and become one of the most notable inventors in our country's history, think of what you could do if you put your mind to it.
Well, this is an inventor. This is abolitionist.
Abolitionist. I mean, sorry.
Sorry. I didn't want to, like, we didn't misquote you.
Sorry, I'm thinking of the other guy, Carver.
Once he received freedom from slavery, he actually had the opportunity, he had the opportunity to call out his fellow slave owner. In a famous quote, he says, "I am your fellow man, but not your slave." You know, very important. This is a really fun fact. Deemed the 19th century's most photograph person. I never knew it, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking about it. Like a lot of pictures around that time, you see him in like, you see his pretty face in a lot of pictures. I'm like, what? There was that many cameras.
How many trays of gunpowder had to blast in his face?
This is like another, I want to say controversial one, but Frederick Douglass refused to celebrate Independence Day. Okay.
Yeah. There are people who refuse to celebrate it today.
One of the things he was famously quoted saying is, "What to a slave is the 4th of July?" I mean, can you really not understand where he's coming from? I mean, a majority of his life was in slavery, in captivity.
And then he went and fought battles to end that slavery and then found out, well, oops.
Well, and that's the thing, too. It's another part of the facts is in Abraham Lincoln signing the Emancipation Proclamation, basically trying to put an end to slavery nationwide. He helped Abraham Lincoln recruit thousands of soldiers to fight for the North.
Yep.
Okay. Which this became a giant turning point in the Civil War. And his main thing was he was doing it for his people. He wanted to see an end to slavery. He wanted there to be peace between peoples. So, and the last fun fact, I mean, there's so many we can go on all night, is he served under 5 different presidents. It's
5?
5. Pretty amazing. Definitely, if you don't know your history on Frederick Douglass, look him up. There's so many other amazing facts that we can go on all night long with that. So on to the next chapter. We will definitely talk more about this in the weeks to come with Black history.
Exactly. Another thing we will brush up on again next week as well. But has anybody heard of, if you've ever heard of a forlorn hope, basically groups of soldiers that would, they basically would be the ones who would get into the fort during a battle, like the vanguard almost. They're almost guaranteed to die. And like the number of African Americans who volunteered for that was, it's pretty powerful. Anyways, on to the next topic. We're
going to do this one really quick before we get into the main one. Valentine's Day, 3 days away. Like I said, get your butts in gear, people. Okay.
Just go to the supermarket. You can't turn anywhere without there being red or pink or chocolate everywhere.
I mean, like I said before, let's not make it all about the money. Make it about the thought. Do something that you haven't done before.
I like chocolate as much as the next guy, though.
I mean, I can die for some Reese cups, but at the same time, let's think outside the box. 10 years from now, how will 2021 stick out for you and your romantic partner? That was the year you gave me that, heart-shaped box of chocolate and that flowers. No. That was the year we went like, exploring abandoned buildings. Oh, well, that was the year
people are going to get kitty boxes with turds on them and their names.
Well, that too. That would be a unique gift. I mean, I would hope that you're not doing that for your significant other, having cat shit on your name in their litter box.
I'll teach you.
This is what will happen if you continue to screw with me. I don't know. With everything that's going on right now, I don't know if I want myself saying that.
Open up the door tomorrow. Have one on your front doorstep.
Oh my God. Notice. So the big topic tonight is charity.
Charity.
Okay. Most of us out here listening and who will listen later have donated in one sense or another to some sort of charity. Okay. Throughout your life.
What's your favorite charity for yourself personally?
Me personally, we're going to get into that, but mine is Make-A-Wish. I think Make-A-Wish Foundation it's probably the most tragic of all charities. I mean, there's many, most charities are given for very tragic serious reasons, but Make-A-Wish is, a foundation that primarily deals with children's dying wish. Yeah. The trips they want to do before they die, the things they want to accomplish before they die.
Getting to meet a superhero.
Exactly. So Make-A-Wish is very important to me. It's their dream. It's, their final statement in a way. So there's a lot of charities out there. So if you're thinking, like what charities to give to. Are there good ones? Are there bad ones? And I'm here to tell you guys,
There are both.
there are both. And primarily, there's a lot of bad ones out there, and you got to be wary of them. I'm going to name them right off the bat, and we're just going to, you guys can agree
Some of
or
these
disagree.
surprised me even when we were going over these. I was like, "How?" But I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad because when you and I give to a charity, you're thinking, "Wow, I'm making the world a better place."
Especially if you're already somebody who doesn't. If you're somebody who's in not the best financial shares as well, and you're giving to a charity, you really hope that money is going where it's supposed to go.
Well, let's just talk about this, okay? Goodwill. We all know Goodwill, okay? The name in itself says goodwill, like do unto others as you want done unto you. Like it's a beautiful.
And I bought some pretty cool stuff there too. I mean, like they have some good stuff. Don't be wrong.
Yeah. So Goodwill, okay? You donate to this business, okay? You donate your belongings to this business, and then this business sells them items for a profit. The CEO and owner, Mark Curran, profits $2.3 million a year. Okay. He pays nothing for the products in which he's selling. Employees work part-time with no benefits and minimum wage. $0 go to help anyone. No money goes towards anything.
Are they listed as a nonprofit?
That I'm not sure of, but at the same time, people are donating. So the only goodwill that's happening is thanks for your donation. But it's not going.
For taking my garbage off my hands for some people, but the majority of it, it's kind of a misleading endeavor.
We've all seen the UNICEF commercials. They're on late at night. They're extremely hard to watch. Extremely disappointing. Okay. The CEO, Carl M. Stern, he makes over $1 million a year, roughly 100K plus a month, right? Less than 5 cents of every donated dollar goes to the actual cause. 5 cents. 5 cents. Now, I can go on and on and on. And part of his, $1 million salary is all expenses paid and a complimentary company Rolls Royce he drives around. 5 cents on every dollar.
Now, I'm not here to homeless people.
I'm not here to preach, but there's a lot of them that are also on the shit list. United Way, March of Dimes, even the American Red Cross. Yep. A lot of these companies, the CEO is making $300,000 plus a year, and very limited amount of the money is actually going towards charities. Now that's a sad.
And it's the same thing that happens with a lot of social programs too. Unfortunately, you give your taxes in hopes that your money is going to be used for some of these programs that are charitable, and you find out where it actually goes. It's like, well, why?
Exactly. And you see, we're all a little depressed now because we're like, oh shit, I gave to that. Now what do I do? Now there's some good ones. There's amazing ones out there.
Yes.
Beautiful charities. The Salvation Army, 96% of their donated dollars goes towards the cause to help people.
Yep.
Okay.
They even have day camps for kids.
The other 4% goes to pay the employees that they have, which none of them are full time. The commissioner of Salvation Army makes a measly $13,000 a year. Plus, he has his housing costs paid for, which is nice. But $13,000 is all he makes. It's important to know these things because you know what you're contributing towards and you know what you're not. Another amazing one, the Ronald McDonald House, okay? 100% of all the money goes towards the cause, okay? And a lot of people wonder what the cause is. This is for children that in critical condition in the hospital and their families. It's a place where they have food, shelter, everything like that. This is a beautiful thing. I know actually a few people who use this charity, who utilize the benefits of this charity and had themselves and their newborn child in there for months because their child was in critical condition. It's an amazing thing. St. Jude's Research Hospital,
That's one of my
100%.
favorite ones. That is the top of the list for me.
100% of the charity goes towards the cause. A lot of people are like, oh, what is St. Jude's? They're helping children that are fighting with cancer. Okay. These are families that sometimes they didn't have insurance. They can't afford it. So, you know what I mean? Like, in the insurance companies, we're going to have a whole discussion on insurance someday. We'll figure that one out. But insurance companies ripping people off left, right, and sideways, a lot of times people don't realize how how over the top expensive having cancer is and treatments
Any
are.
medical, like, all right, to give you an idea of somebody, like, I wasn't in the hospital for cancer. I was there for something else. I was there for a week. After all the tests and everything that were done, the medications that were given, the treatments, the MRIs, all that kind of stuff was said and done. I think it was like 14, 15 grand, which is significant as it is. However, when you look at the itemized bill, the rest went to the room charge, and it was a $40,000 bill.
Wow. Well, that's what we're talking about. Like, imagine having a child who you want to get better. You're going to do anything. You're going to do anything in your power to finance that. Sell, remortgage your house. You're going to ask for money. You're going to put up a GoFundMe. You're going to do whatever it takes. But like, that's why St. Jude is a beautiful place. And my favorite.
I was going to say, if you guys know any charities of your own that we don't mention here that you think are like really, good ones to support that you're passionate about, please, by all means, like, leave it in the comment. Let people know.
Absolutely. And like I was saying, my favorite is Make-A-Wish. 100% of the proceeds go towards the cause. This is making
American Cancer Society is a huge one too.
Making special wishes for a dying child, which is extremely notable. There's a lot of other great ones out there. We can list, but the whole thing is do your research before giving substantial amounts of money to any charity.
Yep.
And really, understand what it's even going to, her, like to dollar for dollar.
Yep.
How is this being broken down?
And like I was saying earlier, if you have a talent or an ability to contribute in some way to one of these things, like most of them will have like yearly or bi-yearly events that kind of come on and give them a chance to to promote what their cause is. So like Relay for Life was like my introduction to getting involved with charity. They're through the American Cancer Society, but they have relays in all different towns around the area. You get sponsored to walk around a hoop, or not a hoop, a track. And for each lap you do, you get a certain amount of money. They have vendor stands that come. So it becomes like a business opportunity, but a portion of that business also gets contributed towards that charity itself. And for myself, it was, I'm a photographer. And when I first started out, like I wasn't able to donate money. Like I was like, I don't even have the money to buy entrance fee half the time at that point. So it was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, well, you know what? I have the ability to capture these moments and give them those photos or, video or whatever it may be in order to, do it. And what I found out is that some of the pictures that I took, I found out a few years later were like the last picture that somebody had of that family member. And, got a random email and it just like, it brings tears to your eyes, but like it's a privilege to be able to provide that for someone.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. The thing you just mentioned here, sometimes it's not all about the money and it's about putting yourself, doing the work, volunteering. It's another form of charity is volunteering your time and your efforts. There's so many things locally in all of our communities that we can give to. There's lists and lists. Whether it's an animal shelter, food pantry, library, YMCA, local churches, you want to get involved with the local fire department, EMS, or EMT, whatever. This is important to get involved and to give back to your communities. Yeah,
your volunteer fire department, like a lot of people may not realize, they're not getting paid for the amount of times that they're running out and saving your butt or getting a cat out of the tree or going back to cats again. But like even their marching bands, they raise money for charity. I used to be part of a marching band. I was a little drummer boy.
I could only imagine that, Stefan. You was a little drummer boy.
It was a sight, not to see.
So like you were just talking about, if you have a trade or a skill that anyone can benefit from, like you were talking, I know you did your photography for that charity. However, Tell me a little bit about when you did you were doing those classes.
Yep. So YMCA is, they have a lot of community events in the area, as well as like Cornell Cooperative Extension through 4-H is one of their programs that I volunteer with. And, I got the privilege to volunteer to teach a couple of classes on art and photography. So I had a group of high school and middle schoolers who came out for the photography class. And we took them through a walk through the woods, kind of went over certain principles, and basically had like a professional photo critique at the end, where everybody got to look at each other's work and see what it was about that piece of art that they submitted, or that photo that they submitted could be better, what could be worse, what about it that you liked, but you had to give a reason. It couldn't just be like, I don't like it. Like that was like the main thing. So those kids, a lot of those photos that were from that day actually got submitted to the 4-H, like their yearly art competition, which I got the privilege to be a judge on as well. And, you're not getting paid for these things, but like just being able to get back to your local youth and just see, like, especially if you're an artist, and being able to share that with other young kids who want to become artists or who are in the process of becoming artists. It's something to look into. Like I learned, like I'm a 35-year-old guy, but I can sew, knit, crochet, cook, and do all that kind of stuff because I was part of 4-H when I was growing up. So, not saying like that's necessary for everybody, but it gives you, they also have farming classes, things like that. I would say if you can get involved with some of those local groups like 4-H, Rotary Club, YMCA, any of those, they quite often will have programs where they're looking for ways to give back. And if you have the ability to teach something, walk in the door, send them a letter, give them a call, ask them like, hey, can we make this happen?
Exactly. Extremely important to get involved, people.
Yep.
There's another charity that this is becoming very popular. It's not really a charity, but it's a personal thing. GoFundMe. Everybody now can put up their own charity page. And what I say to this is be careful what you contribute to. I mean, I don't want to get involved with the Gorilla Glue girl, but apparently she made, $20K plus because she decided to, in her defense, there is a hair product called Gorilla Snot. And I actually use a product in my hair called Got to Be Glued. So maybe for some wild reason, she decided to put it in her hair, but she made, thousands of dollars for that mishap. But I see a lot of things on there that are kind of like really not noble causes. I mean, anyone can put it up. So there is people up there, they're getting kicked out of their homes. They have medical bills they need to pay and a lot of other causes. You can post for anything. But, now that it's so readily available at your fingertips, anyone behind a computer can be like throwing up a charity, pay my bills, and people do. Like, you got the look and you post a nice video or something and, hey, you want to smell my socks for paying my mortgage?
Not particularly.
No. So we're going to leave it at that note because we don't want to go too long on this. But and I hope that it was informative for everybody. Are you playing back? I hear playback.
Oh, sorry, my friend.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, charities, do your research, people. That's all I'm telling you to do. And know what you're signing up for and know that how your money is being spent.
Speaking of which, it was through another charity that I actually met our guest tonight. It was actually through St. Baldrick's. So Dickie Baxter is going to be coming on in a few minutes, and we'll let him tell a little bit more about that once he gets on. But
all right, you ready for some Dickie? Let's put him on. Hey, how are you?
What's up,
What's going on, brother?
Doing good.
Thanks for joining us tonight, man. How you doing?
It's my pleasure. Great topic, man. It was really, really cool topic. I'm excited. I was just hitting the share button as we were talking. So
yeah, I haven't gotten good at the multitasking thing yet, like talking and typing. I'm like, I that's why I had the playback, because I was trying to share the link to someone.
No, it's cool. It's hard to do. Once it gets fired up, that's when one of you has to grab that share button, and go at it. So I absolutely respect it. Thank you for having me on this evening. And great talk, man. I'm glad we got the Gorilla Glue girl in there. That's important.
We got to keep it relevant to the times.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the St. Baldrick's. I mean, that's how we got introduced to each other.
So St. Baldrick's, it's funny. I get roped into a lot of community events, and I say that kidding because I love it. Like that's my passion, is working with the community, and my success actually has been collateral damage because I'm a licensed real estate agent, and I have a good sphere that way. But honestly, I've only been busy because of all the people I meet, like yourself, and like the people in the community, by doing events like St. Baldrick's. And St. Baldrick's is where we raise money for children's cancer research. And I'm not the liaison to this, so I hope that I'm doing it justice. But I will tell you that I've been doing it for since Cooper was born, my oldest kid, who's 14.
Like you do the emceeing for the event every year, don't you?
I MC the event, and what happens is everybody shaves their head. They raise money all through the year. They grow their hair, and they get people like amped up, like they're going to grow their. And Union House out of Walden raises a ton of money.
Yes,
we've all like, I'll see somebody that wasn't there to get their head shaved with like a huge beard, right? And I'll be like, hey man, you want to help? I'll be like, hey, how long do you grow that beard? And the guy be like,
and some of them look terrified while they're getting it chopped off. They're like,
yeah,
oh my God.
They'll say, I've been growing this beard for 15 years. And I'm like, oh, cool. It's horrible. These kids with cancer. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so if I'll raise $5,000, will you shave your beard right now? And the guy's like, what are they going to say? And it's crazy.
They're like, someone will trim it at least a little bit.
We'll auction off the beard. Right? We've had women shave their heads. They walked in, they weren't there to get their hair cut, and they'll shave their heads to raise $1,000 for children's cancer. It's unbelievable.
Even I found out about it because I got hired to cover the event one year for the Walden Quarterly magazine. So I showed up. I'm like, St. Baldrick's. I'm like, what is St. Like, you mean St. Patrick's? They're like, no, it's St. Baldrick's. I'm like,
yes.
Okay, let's go check it out. And I walk in, and like you said, like there's a line of people up in the front of the room. You're up there like shouting away like on the microphone, and people are getting their heads shaved. You have the radio station there. You have like all these different companies that are providing like food and beverage, all different crafts, all different ways to like sponsor the event, kind of like they do it like Relay for Life, having stands there as well. And I remember like after being there for a few hours covering it, like I already had everything I needed, and I'm like, I got $20. I mean, here. Shave my head.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's addicting. And I've met so many great friends through doing it. That's where a lot of my emceeing started, was with St. Baldrick's. And now I MC probably at least 25 events a year for a charity. Never for a check, only to get the crowd into it and to get everybody like hyped up to raise money for a good cause. And I've been called actually locally, but then to other states even to go. If there's like a family that's had a house fire, we'll put a spaghetti dinner together, and I'll go there and do an auction to like auction off a flat screen or something, and just get people pumped up to help people. And it's that kind of thing that St. Baldrick's for the Hudson Valley doesn't even realize it's helped so many people in so many other causes, just because we've created this almost cult of people that want to help. And
it's like it's addictive. Like, I mean, part of charity, like, people are like, oh, it's from a selfish motive. Like, well, in a good way, though. I mean, if it makes you feel good for doing something good for somebody else, like, then what's wrong with that? I mean, do it. Get involved.
I've seen people say like, oh, this person posts this on their Facebook. I bet you that feels really good. Like almost like the person's being selfish to do it for likes and shares. Why wouldn't you want to share an experience or a cause that needs to be shared? That's what social media was created. That's what media was created for. And to have a social aspect of it to where we can reach the loudest and the best audience of people that can help. That's how I found out about it. I was in my driveway washing my car. I saw it on social media. My friend said they were going there. I walked in, and then I bumped into a guy that I knew was working there, and he says, oh, I need somebody to work the mic. And that's how I hopped on the mic. So like, it's things like, it's forums like that have helped. I don't even know if maybe I didn't do that, we wouldn't have raised as much money, may not have helped another kid or the research to help these kids. And I know that we've adopted local families to be the honorees at this. And those people have not only been helped, they've joined on as our volunteers. So when you talk about the reach that social media has, or podcasts like this, we could be helping a family right now just by talking about it.
Well, even Charles and I, like, we met through a charity event actually as well. It was through I think it was a prom dress giveaway for Sweet 16s.
That's cool.
I was on my phone one morning. It was just like I was figuring out, like, what am I going to do today? It was a Saturday. I was bored out of my mind. I see Barbara Martinez come on and post one of her little things, like, I'm here doing this now and all that. And I was like, I live like 10 doors from there. I'm going. So I showed up, and then I met Charles there. We were both filming. Just a couple months later, I get a call. He's like, "Hey, you want to help me film a movie?" I'm like,
hey, why not?
I had to think at first. I'm like, wait, who is it? I'm trying to jog my memory. I'm like, oh my god, that guy.
That guy.
That's
and
cool.
now we're doing a podcast. Two movies
cool.
later.
That's really cool. And it's wild how the connections can reach. I don't think Barbara Martinez, you brought her up. She's another great influencer in our area, and she has such an awesome network. And we met. We actually met. We were both going to the Verizon Wireless zone. Eric Maldonado, who's involved in everything, was filming something, getting cereal for the food pantry. I happened to walk up, and I was getting it for a different food pantry run. We all bumped into each other, did a post together. That's how we met. And Barbara and I still haven't been able to sit down and actually have a discussion. We've just been at different events helping people to the point where we've tried to do a sit down and at least invite one of each other onto one of our podcasts and have not been able to do it. But it's amazing how these different podcasts and these different forums are getting so much reach out there, and it's important. I think it's really
more
important.
so than regular media at this point. I think, like, I don't really go to media, like mainstream media, for my news at this point, unless it's like to watch a live stream of like something political happening. I don't trust half of it.
I don't need the downer. There's enough going on in the world, and we gotta lift each other up, and we gotta be that energy instead, because the problems are there. We know we have to deal with our problems, but we don't gotta just drown ourselves in them, man. We gotta make energy happen.
Now, have you guys both heard of Honor Flight by any chance?
I heard of Honor Flight.
Yeah,
my wife's the founder of Honor Flight. Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah. She's one of the founders. Yeah.
Do your research, Stefan.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife, my brother-in-law Brian Marr, Becky Marr, and then Steve Nicoli got together in my living room before me and my wife were married, when I was actually previously married. And I got Jim Loopy together and a couple other people together to form the first flight. It originated. Brian Marr had a charity called Be the Movement. I was the president. And
is he still the local mayor right now, or
Brian Marr is now the town supervisor of Montgomery? Okay. He was the mayor of Walden, and he was the director of the Purple Heart Hall of Fame or Museum or whatever it is. And but Brian is our town supervisor for Montgomery, and so all these like-minded people got together, and I've been working with Honor Flight forever, man. Since it started. It started, like I said, in my living room. So
for anybody who's not familiar with it, real quick, it's basically they provide an experience for veterans from World War II all the way up to current wars. Initially, it was mostly just World War II and Korea veterans, and then as age goes on, the people from different wars are involved, and these are people who, especially the Vietnam vets, who, like, when they came back, they were spit on, they were treated like trash, like no support. Even people from World War II, like, it was a time where you didn't talk about what happened to you. It was like, you got to be strong, keep that to yourself, and just, like, move forward. The greatest generation thing. Yeah. And these people a lot of them have never gone back to, have never been to Arlington Cemetery or to any of the memorials that, really, like, pay respect to what they actually accomplished and what they did. And the struggles that they went through. And so, I got invited to photograph two of the flights, actually. And then from there on to the Purple Heart Project afterwards, which is a similar thing. But basically, like, you see these men who are like grizzled warriors weeping, and not in a painful way, like happiness. And just by the end of the day, like the feeling that you get of just watching these guys, they fly them down on a private jet to Washington, D.C. They have a police escort that literally rides on their motorcycles before and after the buses, clearing traffic, like and you're speeding through the city like 60 miles an hour in big buses, and you're getting to these monuments. All the guys are coming out, group picture in front of like the Washington Monument. You're going to the different places. Like one of the guys like that was in our group, he's pointing to a picture on the Vietnam Memorial of his platoon actually carrying a boat out of the water.
Wow.
And, telling the story about how, he found out that he was even in that. It just, to have that kind of thing was like, I didn't have to donate any money. I just said, I want to help. And it was amazing.
It's unbelievable. If you haven't had a chance, Stewart Airport, we always have the send off. And then we have like we welcome them back as if, like we should have.
And Westchester Airport too.
And when they're on the planes, they're having letters read to them that were from their family members that they have archived. They're getting
Buzz Aldrin greet us at the airport in DC.
It's just unbelievable. I'll tell you a cool story about Honor Flight real quick, and I'll bore you to death the story, so you can stop me if you want. By the way, what's up, Justin Lewis? What's up, PJ Keelan? Thank you for watching. So my son is a real big history buff, and my oldest son Cooper. And Trish gets him to sit with a lot of these World War II veterans when I'm emceeing the events. And so he's really been intrigued by it. He just loves history. His mom is a history teacher, my ex-wife, and was a history teacher. So she's got him ingrained in it. And we went to Hawaii. He got to go see Pearl Harbor and everything. So he's just so into it. I get a call from his teacher one day. And his teacher says, "Hey, man, I got to talk to you about Cooper. My kid does good in school. He wasn't like me." So I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, No, I got to tell you this story. He said, today, Endgame, the Marvel universe had just had Endgame come out. Yeah. And I asked everybody who saw Endgame this weekend. Everybody in the class raised their hand except Cooper. And I was like, yeah, we're not really into that. He goes, no, he says, it gets better. He says, so I asked the guy, what, you don't like heroes? And your son goes, I love heroes, real heroes. So I was at Honor Flight this weekend making sure and like just totally shut his teacher.
How old is he?
Yeah, he's a teenager. He's 14, but it was like 2 years ago. It was when Endgame came out. Yo, his teacher was just like, I got schooled at school. It was so cool. And I'm a cool teacher. So I was like, yo, that's great to hear. And I was proud of my son, very proud of him, because I didn't know he felt that way. But he was like, I was hanging out with the real heroes. And I was like, yo, got him, Wow. But Honor Flight's huge, man. It's great for our area. Their headquarters is right in my hometown, Walden. And I love it, man. Great call. Yeah. Excellent call.
Shout out to Everett Colley, who actually, he's the one who introduced me to getting involved with that. And it's become a passion. I really love it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Stefan, these are the pictures you showed me that you did for the event, right? With the World War II veterans and we there. Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yep, I really remember there was one old couple that was like, or not an old couple, like a pair of twins or brothers. One was like a year older, one was a year younger. So like they had to enlist. The first one didn't make it in time to enlist for World War II, so he enlisted in Korean War, and the other one joined him in Korean War as well. And it was like watching a comedy act with these two old guys. Like they're like hitting on women at the airport. They're like, "Hey, honey, how you doing?"
They don't play, man. They don't care. They're at it, man. They're loving it, and good for them. They deserve the day. Big shout out to Billy Iverson is watching too from Acquisitions Marketing. Thank you for being on, Billy. Thank you for the support.
Awesome stuff. So listen, I want to jump into this because right now there's a lot of talk about the housing market crash. Is now, in your opinion, and you're the guy to ask, real estate agent of the year, okay, is this a buyer's market or a seller's market?
So that's a
good question. Market.
That's a better one, Steph. I like it. It's a realtor's market. It's a seller's market right now. When you're buying, the advantage to buying for buyers right now is the interest rates, and that's going to go away. And it's the lowest interest rates we've ever had, ever. Not in our lifetime, in anyone's lifetime.
Like what's the rate right now?
There's 2 point whatever percent interest rates out there right now. That's free money. On a 30-year loan of $500,000, that's free money. So
student loans look nice.
Yes. So, and so when anything else you buy with a loan, it's depreciating. This is the only asset that actually appreciates. So it's free money that grows.
Yep.
Stock market doesn't do that, except GameStop. And but I would tell you, no, it's still, there's still a lot of advantages to that. I'm hosting the most onboarding courses for buyers right now that I ever have. I host those via Zoom. I do in-person meetings as well, barring all COVID restrictions. But we are doing so much onboarding for buyers right now. It's competitive. And for any buyers out there watching this, make sure that you're working with a full-time realtor or someone that's teamed up with a full-time realtor. Make sure you're working with somebody that puts your needs ahead of theirs.
And don't be afraid to cut someone off if they're not accomplishing what you need them to do either.
And you should always fire the person that doesn't put your needs first. Make sure they're asking you about your pre-approval first, not just asking you what you saw on Zillow and taking you to a listing. Not only is that contaminating you, if you're going out to somebody's house you don't know, that's risky. Make sure you're ready to buy it first. Don't go into 5 houses that you shouldn't even be in. There's a COVID-19 out there that you shouldn't be doing. And know things. Like there's a couple tricks. I'll tell you guys a couple things that people don't know till they sit with me. When you buy a house, I'll ask you first. When you buy a house, every $10,000 that's in your mortgage, how much is that in your monthly payment?
I suck at math, so you're gonna have to help me out on this.
And I'll tell you. So most people don't realize that every $10,000 is, with these interest rates, is under $40 a month. So That being said, don't lose a house over $10,000. Don't be shopping like that. But taxes, every $1,000 in taxes on your house is like $82 or $86 a month. So you really want to keep your taxes low and make sure your house is checking all the boxes that you need it to check for the time being in your life, and stop looking at that price tag to think this is let's make a deal. This is let's make your needs be met for the next 10 years. Let's create the most memories for the next 10 years. And let's make sure that we're not buying a lemon. So let's get the best inspection. Let's get the best realtor. Let's get the best lawyer. And let's make sure it appraises so I have an asset that's going to grow and grow equity over the rest of my life.
You know what, Dickie? We need people like you because you're honest. You seem honest.
Thank you.
Yes. My girlfriend and I, we're looking at houses, and you don't understand some of the places that we've went into that we felt like we were going into, like Amityville Horror, Saw, the bathroom in Saw, like nothing that we wanted seemed to be reached. I don't know. I don't know if the right questions were asked of us. So like, what questions would you ask?
So I won't take a buyer unless they'll do an onboard meeting with me. That is and nobody on my team will either, or they're off my team. So
what is an onboard meeting for someone who's
an onboard meeting? Before we would go see houses, before anything, I would have an appointment set with you, and we do it via Zoom because a lot of times that works better for people's family. And that's where we have at least an hour just to talk about your needs. And then we're going to talk about the whole buying experience before we ever see one house, so you know what to expect. And then I look at what you have. Like if I know that you don't have enough to cover your closing costs, or I know that you only have this much in bank, or that you're an FHA buyer instead of a conventional buyer, we're going to talk about what our buying power is and how we're going to get that home. And so if you're the strongest buyer, I'm going to talk about how we're going to go in and we're going to beat every other buyer out there. But if you're a weak buyer, I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. I'm going to talk about what our expectations have to be. And I'm going to tell you, in this market, you're going to spend $15,000 over asking price. You're going to have to not ask for many repairs on your inspection. And we're going to have to make sure that house still fits your needs. And if it doesn't, we'll keep looking. I'm going to pep talk you to not give up, because you're still making a smart decision to buy real estate. And then we're going to still look at that house. Once we get the accepted offer and we're about to go into inspection, we're still going to do the math to make sure your monthly payment isn't making you house poor, that this house still checks all your boxes, and that you're not having buyer's remorse, and that we're not upside down in equity, and that this is going to be a good asset for you and your family moving on. So if it's a first house, you're going to be able to have room 5 years from now for your second house. If it's a forever house, that if you ever had to borrow off of it because your kids are going to college or whatever it may be, that we can make that happen for you. And if you have a realtor that's not doing that, have the talk with them. I'm not going to say to fire them, but have the talk with them. If they're telling you they can't meet you on Sunday and they don't have coverage for somebody else to meet you on Sunday, you're missing out on houses. That house that you wanted to go see still got seen that day and it got sold. Fire your realtor, or have the hard talk with them that they're not putting your needs first.
Yep.
Well, I mean, this process is, we know it's not an overnight process. This could take weeks, months. how does a realtor like such as yourself, how do you stay motivated to sell this property, to get the right buyer in this house when sometimes, it might be a hard sell?
I mean, sales are hard. Like when you hit a slump, like you have to find ways to keep your head in it. So like, what do you do? Like
So
along the same lines.
my background is I've always been in business. I haven't always been in real estate. I've only been in real estate for 7.5 years. I've won a lot of accolades in real estate, and I have the respect of some major players in this game. That means more to me, is the trust. So the trust of my broker, the trust of my clients, and the trust of my colleagues, whether they're at my firm or not. And I built that through honesty. And I say a lot of things that people don't want to hear, but so I don't build unreal expectations. And when people put unreal expectations in front of me, I'll still jump that hurdle, and I'll jump as high as I can. But I won't promise you I can leap over it. I'll set up a plan same way, and then we'll see what we get, and we'll revisit it, and we'll communicate. But I can't not answer the hard calls, and I can't not make the hard calls. I'm not a salesperson in real estate. I owned a car stereo shop for 15 years. I had to sell remote starters in warm weather in a recession. That was an impulse buy. When I have to sell right now, I'm the liaison in a transaction of in an average of 7 years, the most expensive purchase that somebody's going to make or investment they're going to make, right? So it's not hard for me to sell you your holiday memories, where you're going to go to the bathroom, and where you're going to sleep every night. That's, you already want it. So what I do have to do, though, is I have to be responsible for your liability. I have to understand how important this purchase is or sale for you, and I have to be accountable. And I can't do that if I don't take it seriously. This is a really good question, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, it's really important because a lot of people get sucked into the wrong information. They have all these beliefs and wants and unrealistic expectations. I mean, everyone wants that forever home, but they don't have the budget to do so. And sometimes I really do feel sorry for the realtor because their hopes, wants, and dreams are kind of like thrown at you. Make it happen for me, Dickie. I need this mansion. And, it's tragic at times. So the honesty is really, really important. What other qualities do you think that someone that's good at real estate would have?
So I think presentation, I'm very fortunate that I don't have to, I can come off the fly and still be very responsible for what I say. But I think if you're going, we're not expected to know half the things people expect us to know. Like on a listing side, people think that we know the value of every house. Now, can I shoot from the hip and tell you the value of most houses? Probably, and be very close. But I've made myself friends with a lot of experts. My mantra is that don't ever try and be the smartest person in the room. Just get the answers that need to get answered. So I surround myself with extremely smart people and knowledgeable people, and I stay in my lane. So what I am great at, and I will never not take credit for this, is I am excellent at marketing. And no one will outmarket me. I market my brand, I market my company, and I market my clients' properties better than everyone. And that's why I win these accolades every year. And that's why there's a line of people outside of my office to list their properties with me in every market, not just the seller's market. But if you see how many houses I sell and how many I list in every market, it's always triple what the other top producers are doing. And it's because I stay in my lane. And I think that other realtors do that same thing. I think they try and market well. I think other top producers, to answer your question, they present themselves very, very well, and that'll go a long way. And I could name, I probably shouldn't name other realtors because my broker
probably not gonna.
But I will
no info, none of that.
I will tell you, there's a lot of people I respect out there in the game, and I've learned from, because you shouldn't ever consider people. There's 15,000 of us in the Hudson Valley, 15,000 realtors plus, 15,000 plus. There's 44,000 people in our MLS because we go all the way from here to Long Island. So for me to think I'm the holy grail of realtors would be crazy. But I've learned so much from the other real estate agents out there that I respect, that I know and respect.
Yeah. So you were talking a lot about having your hands in the game, knowing the right things to say, being professional. Are you hands-on as far as setting the stage, doing the staging, setting up the property, or is that you outsource that? See a lot of these reality shows now where like the real estate, they're making everything so much more unrealistic. So
I do work when it comes to the marketing. I do head up a lot of things. Again, I consider us the liaison. Like I will make sure if I need a stager for something, I'd call somebody to do that, like Claudia Jacobs or something, and she's not even really so much into that. She's in the designer, but I'd call a heavy hitter in staging. If I need a virtual staging, then I'd call my virtual stager. And then I'd sit side by side. I have to know what's trending, and I have to know what kind of house I have and what kind of area I'm in to know how to market that. I have a Matterport specialist. I have a drone specialist. I have a photographer that are on and to keep them on your beck and call, you have to keep them on every listing. And so to the real estate agents out there that still think that you can use your cell phone, stop. Please stop. Stop doing it.
Wow. So you see, it's very interesting because I have a lot of different questions. I know, I'm sorry if I'm throwing heavy hitters at you left, right, center.
Great. This is awesome. I love it.
A lot of, because the game has changed over the years, especially as technology has increased. What types of technology, do you do to really promote your brand to get it out there?
So this is one of my favorite questions right now because COVID happened and all of a sudden it was cool to use Zoom and cool to use Stream. I love StreamYard, by the way. The streaming app that we're on right now, StreamYard, is my favorite. I use it a lot. I do work hand in hand with acquisitions marketing a lot to do some of my higher end video stuff, and they do a lot of my social media. They help my brand a lot, and I think linking up with a marketing company is not a silly thing for somebody that's going to be in business like this. But I will tell you, one of the tools that we use that's been like vital, and we were doing this way before COVID. I was virtual way before COVID. We do a thing called Saturday morning cartoons. And every Saturday morning, I'm at the helm. I'm at my office hosting the StreamYard. And I will have my team, the License to Sell team, out at least 5 to 6 different listings at the same time. And we do a virtual open house, touring each property one at a time, busting jokes on each other, hollering each other out if there's a mirror that goes by. And we garner a huge following because of it. And a lot of people thought this was a silly tool. We get at least 5,000 to 6,000 views every weekend on our newest listings. And my people are, again, they can't wait to line up for it. John Salvador is on, who's actually a client of mine and a friend of mine now. And it worked on his property. The weekend that we did that Saturday morning cartoons, house sold. And it's constantly working. And this was working before we were in a seller's market. So virtual open houses are key. I think going live is huge for me. I love using live marketing. I like using boomerang marketing. I love utilizing social media to its fullest.
What's boomerang marketing? I haven't done that yet.
So on Instagram, when you use the boomerang,
okay.
And we'll throw that into memes. We'll throw it into GIFs. Like we pop it out there in every way possible. My favorite day in the whole world just passed. I'm not a football guy, but I love Super Bowl Sunday. And if you ever try and go on Facebook and you're friends with me on Super Bowl Sunday, good luck. Because my feed is just devouring your feed. I have memes. I have videos. I had animals talking this year. I had a goat on there with Tom Brady saying Dickie Baxter is the goat. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Now, I also have a question too. In terms of this has come up in topics of conversation a lot lately. Is renting versus buying. Given the fact that a lot of people are coming out of school right now with massive amounts of student debt, and they're getting into a market of jobs which is somewhat limited at the moment. What are the prospects for people in that situation? Would you recommend them to stick with renting or to invest in a home?
So when someone comes to me as a tenant, the first thing I do is make sure that that there isn't a program out there that can make them a homeowner. I look at how much money they have because it's expensive to rent. Yeah. You have that first month's rent, you have to have a security deposit, and the realtor fee. That's 3 months rent on a.
And if you're month to month, there's no security in it.
Right. So here we are with $5,000 in our pocket. I'll make sure that a program like USDA can't be used to make this person a homeowner. If they're not, what I do is I take their application, I review the application because that's still a credit check. I'll get them in credit repair while I'm finding them a rental. I'll stay in touch with them for 2 years. I sign them up into my home buyers course, which is free. And then I get them into housing counseling at RDAC, which is also free. And in that 2 years, not only are they working on their credit and paying their bills on time, so their landlord loves them, and they have a great landlord reference if they did want to move on or whatever they want to do, They've also bettered their credit, which helps them in every way possible. And then after that 2 years, they're running out with one of my buyer's agents or myself, looking at probably one of my listings. And then we also sell them a home. And we've actually converted. I would have to say on average, we convert at least 2 people that come to apply, probably more, like 4 people a year that come to apply for a rental with me, end up owning a home in 3 months. My partner, Vinny Rita, is exactly that story. Him and his wife came to rent with me. They were just getting married, 5 kids, 2 pit bulls. How am I going to find them a rental, right? I need a 6-bedroom house, and I got 2 pit bulls. What landlord's going to rent to them? I got them a
Hard enough
house.
finding one that'll let you have a pet.
I got them a house where all their kids have bedrooms, and their pets were allowed. They bought a house. It was $3,000 out of pocket, and they lived in a newly renovated house in Valley Central Schools for $300 less a month than they would have paid in rent, and they had $3,000 out of pocket.
Wow. See, that's amazing. A lot of people don't realize that when you're paying rent and you're putting all this money into something that it's not an asset to you.
It's not
someone else.
It's a rental.
Not any sort of investment to you. And a lot of times you don't realize you could probably you have a better deal and own a property.
No doubt.
I think a lot of people don't really understand that. A lot of renters out there the reason why they don't want to deal with the consequence of things breaking down and like things like a roof or a new furnace and stuff like that. That's why it's really important to know the facts about what you're buying too. Yeah. I want to go back a little bit because you were talking about technology and how you're really going with it, furthering your brand. Nowadays, people don't really have as much time as they did. There's so many things pulling them every which way, and it's like the way of the future. It's the way of the future. Like, do you do entirely, like, have you ever sold a property where someone primarily is seeing virtual tours and stuff like that, where they go in person, of course, but it's like you can almost make a deal through.
So to give you an idea, during the COVID stay at home, I sold 9 houses that I never saw.
Wow.
I wasn't allowed in the houses via the governor. My clients were, I had to make arrangements and everything. So that's a real thing. Also, like I told you, I was already virtual a while back. I actually sold a house to a guy that was in San Diego. I was here. The house was in Herkimer on a golf course. And I never met the gentleman. I never saw the house. And I did sell him a house using all the technology at the time that was available, which wasn't Zoom, but it was. I think I used Facebook Video Messenger at the time, and I sold him the house. And I didn't see the house for almost 2 years. I went and visited the guy and played golf on the golf course, but like I had never even been to Herkimer before. And
that's where they have the diamond, the quartz mines, right? The Herkimer Diamond
is actually a pretty cool place, and there's some neat stuff there. There's Remington Guns is out that way too, like their manufacturing and everything. It's definitely a cool spot to go to. But there are times where it's like that, where we're, especially during the stay at home, where we're utilizing the virtual stuff, and a lot of things are becoming more virtual. Like my onboard meetings used to be a pain in the butt because I would work all day. And people would work all day. They would bail a lot of times on doing these buyer meetings with me because they have kids at home or they had to go make dinner. And then they want to come back and meet me in my office at 8:00. And I don't care. I'm a machine. I work 8 days a week. But I didn't want to uplift people. Now they feel people. And I kept saying, I'll just Zoom with you. I'll Zoom. And they were like, I don't have a Zoom. I don't know what that is. Now it's so second nature. Everybody's like, cool, man. Hop me on the Zoom. They're all
My mom is on like 6 Zoom meetings a day sometimes. I'm like, wow, like 10 years ago, I had to teach her how to text message.
Yeah, it's fantastic that people are embracing this technology so much because we have it,
Yeah. Do you find that I've been seeing a lot of photographers using like 360 cameras and things like that, and they have certain ones that you can buy specifically for real estate that basically map out the interior of the space so that you can actually do basically a virtual walkthrough.
That's a Matterport.
Is that what is it?
It's a Matterport, it's called. Yes. Matterport. I use that a lot.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. And actually what's kind of cool is we did a Matterport, and then during the COVID, when people couldn't even come to open houses and we we were on to get creative. I actually did a green screen with acquisitions, and it was just my head floating inside the Matterport, and we toured them through the house. It was just my bobblehead. I was wearing this green suit. It was so funny. I could see it like on the screen, and I couldn't be the same place acquisitions was, so they had to be somewhere else working this thing. And I'm watching my head floating through the air in this house, and I'm trying to describe the house. It was so crazy. But we try and be as innovative as possible to get people to stop scrolling and to look at the stuff that we're doing.
I gotta interject real quick. There's actually a few questions that you're getting from the audience. Okay, so let me just throw this one at you. When they say a mortgage is $386 a month, what are you really paying? Like homeowners, taxes, what's inclusive?
So you'd always want to double check this with your mortgage guy, but I do work with a lot of banks because I teach the home buyer course. So if they say your mortgage is $386 and everything's included, it's got to be in like Pennsylvania or somewhere, and it had to be like a mobile home. That's a very cheap mortgage. So when they say the $386 part, I'm guessing that's just your payment. So that's just a breakdown of your payment. Once you add the taxes in there, your insurance, if there's PMI, which is mortgage insurance, that can sometimes get added in on like FHA loans and stuff like that, and stuff that doesn't have 20% down on it. But for the most part, I think that's just going towards your loan part. Okay.
There's another one. What are your thoughts on rental properties?
As far as being an investor, I'm guessing they're saying I am not only a landlord myself. My bread and butter is that I build investors. I just got done doing a paid seminar that I did last month where I taught people how to flip houses. Yep. And I have another one coming up where it's going to be about holding properties. And I only charge $30 to get all that knowledge. So I love seeing more and more investors. And if you are an investor out there, if that's why you asked that question, we have an eviction and a foreclosure moratorium that has been going on for a very long time and isn't over till May 1st. And come May 1st, there's going to be a lot of auctions for a lot of good investment properties. Please give me a shout. I'm happy to have a meeting now to teach you how to be a good investor.
That's awesome. And there's one more I'm seeing right now. There was a few others I'll get to. Mr. Baxter, how do we create credit with no credit and apply for credit when it's denied?
How do we create credit with no credit and apply for credit when it's denied? So I have 3 different credit specialists that I work with, and I would encourage you to probably get in front of them to ask that question. Or if the goal is to get a mortgage, give me a call and I'll set up a conference between myself and a preferred vendor that I work with. I have a few that let's hear your situation and kind of talk about it. But there's ways by like getting credit when you have no credit. Opening up a credit card is going to be that way. Even maybe going to your credit union and talking about what they think is best for you. Sometimes they're the people that used to hand out the free lollipops though. So talking to a credit specialist, make sure they're like a little more certified or have a little more financial background. I like talking to mortgage officers, our loan officers, because if that is always our ultimate goal with credit is to get a producing asset, and houses are probably the best one or the one we're trying to make the most longevity with. So
now, if someone goes through like a bankruptcy, is that something that's doable to work around? Because that basically destroys your credit for a while.
It does, but not to not make a plan and not to get creative, because sometimes people that went through bankruptcy still have a lot of cash on hand. There's private lenders that'll hold money for a certain amount of I never say die. I want to look at this situation and find the best way for this to work. And sometimes it is getting a long-term rental, but guess what? You're not going to finding it yourself on Craigslist. You're going to find it with a real estate professional. Even if I just give you my application and you use that to go find your rental yourself, and we stay in touch and I get you in credit repair, and 3 years from now when they forgive that bankruptcy that was a couple years ago from a divorce or a business failing or something, I got you.
Awesome. Very informative session. A lot of people are definitely reaching out. Dapper Dan says, definitely will check you out, brother. Appreciate your knowledge.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So getting some fans tonight. I got a fun question for you. Since, there's this what is the biggest misconception about being a real estate agent?
So this is a fun question. My first week at my brokerage, my boss comes up to me and says, "Hey, Dickie, we're going to need you to wear long sleeves." And not because there was a dress code. He's my friend. And he was like, There's just, it's a little taboo. Roll the sleeves down and just go at it, bro. Because you're going to kill it in this, man. You got such great delivery and people love you.
I'm assuming that's because of the tattoos?
And I was like, what is he talking about? And he was like, and I was like, oh, wow, these, okay. And I am now the NY Tattooed Realtor. That is my shtick, and people love it. You'd be surprised how many people you meet have tattoos. I've been on appraisals where the guy's like, hey, you're the Tattooed Realtor. I'm like, yeah. And then the guy lifts up his shirt. He's like, check this out, man. I got this one in 75. Like, it's so cool.
Like, thanks.
So the misconception is that we open doors. Like that we're just this person that comes with a blazer on and our name tag, and we open the door, and then you go ahead and check it. We're here to help, and we want to help. For the most part, I can speak for the professionals that I work with and that I respect. We want to help.
Okay, so is it true a good real estate agent can sell any property with the right amount of skills?
No.
Very honest, because I was gonna hit you with the double hook here and ask you to sell the room that you're in right now. Try to sell it to us.
Dude, we used to do that in practice. Go for it. I want to
the room I'm in right now. No, I mean I would tell you it's probably the worst room in my house. But
Some of your hat.
Pound for pound, you can't beat the taxes, and that's only because I made sure that I didn't get permits for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I have permits. So, to go back to that question, though, I think that's the only reason I said that is because sometimes I've talked people out of selling the property. Sometimes they've just had such unreal expectations for the market, and I've explained to them the value of what they own, and I've gained a trust that they've referred me 10 times because I didn't make them house broke, because I didn't push them over a ledge they shouldn't have went over. And I'll pay that to my broker and to the people that have trained me. Honesty is the best policy, or you're actually just in it for yourself. And that's horrible.
Yeah. People see through it. I used to do door-to-door sales for Verizon, and it's like, until I got to a point where I was comfortable, like, asking the questions and giving them the stuff that they needed. I ended up leaving it ultimately because it wasn't a high return. Like it was like $100 commission per sale. And then they had 3 days and they could still cancel it. So it was like, it wasn't worth the amount of effort they put in, but it gave you a real insight into, if you're just honest and you actually believe in what you're selling, people will start to respond. If you're nervous and you're getting up to that door, people are going to be like, nope.
People don't realize that word of mouth spreads, and you even at the time, if the person doesn't realize what you're doing and you sell them something that they shouldn't have done, as time goes on, I'm sure they'll tell the next person, and we'll get back like, this guy's kind of sleazy. You should stay away from that. And it's your reputation should be the most important part. And it's that's what you should be most prideful in. Any business owner out there listening.
And you can feel when a salesperson's desperate.
Don't take shortcuts for a quick couple bucks.
You know what? How this conversation started is one of the reasons why I would never want to cut corners or be dishonest. I am the spokesperson, or I am the face of a lot of these charities that I get to work with. But I'm also one of my favorite tattoos says "All for my goons." It's right there, and my family's the Goon Squad, and I'm the leader of the goons. And I wouldn't for a day want to end up bumping into my kid's teacher or their little league coach or something, and that guy having that look, and then not only judging me but now judging my kids or my wife. I leave every day, and just before I leave, I brush my teeth. And I look in the mirror, and I can still look in the mirror on every deal that I've done. And I feel good about that. And then when I'm tying my boots and I'm making sure my daughter's got her boots on and stuff, I don't have to look away. And as long as I can keep doing that every night when I tuck them in and every day when I leave, I'm good. I don't want to lose that for a commission check. And that's why I've never referred to myself in this business as a licensed real estate salesperson. My team and I refer to ourselves as licensed real estate professionals. And it's because we took the sales right out of it. If somebody wants to buy something, they can buy it. We're not going to sell it to them. We're going to provide it for them.
Yep.
Amazing. What do you find to be the most challenging part about your day-to-day job?
Right now, probably the media and weather.
In what sense with the media?
The media is driving a fear, and it really grooms a lot of misconceptions. Like everybody's like, well, everyone's moving from the city here. Guess what?
It feels like it sometimes because that's all you hear.
We live in the Hudson Valley. Everyone's been moving here since 9/11. You know what I mean? Like it's been a real thing for 20 years. So like, yeah, but like there's also a ton of people that are tired of renting. Exactly. And those people that moved here recently because of COVID, they didn't prepare to own a house here. They never had a car. They never had a lawnmower, any of those things. They're renting, and they're pushing rent prices up. Most of my people I'm selling houses to here are from here. They're just tired of paying $1,600 to rent a condo.
Yeah, like I got very lucky because I found an apartment through a friend who had, who was friends with the landowner. So like, it was a fluke in that sense. But like, I've had apartments in my adult life that I've lived in that were literally like a tiny room smaller than this bedroom, or about the same size. And, the amount of money that we had to pay for it was like through the roof. And it's hard.
What you said is really relevant because it is a fear. You're basically ringing. I've heard stories about families, looking to move out of the area because, oh my God, our area is going to get taken over by city folk, or we're going to, I've heard stories like, COVID's so bad out there, or the riots are so bad in the city that, everyone's going to come up here and the taxes are going to go through the roof.
It's actually really quiet in the city.
But these are the things. The media does push a lot of fears. And I think right now there's a big thing that's going on where people are being held accountable for spreading lies and rumors. And I think, I'm all for free speech. Always have been. This is what this podcast is all about. And I would never be the one to shun anybody down. Yep. But when there's so much like we were just talking about GoFundMe and all these things with a click of a wrist, you could put out whatever information you want, receive anything. And with that comes so much misinformation. So it's really important for people to do their research deeper than what their friends post on social media. And
made that mistake before where I've reposted something and be like, oh, that wasn't actually a real story.
I out of that. I don't have like that political side. I don't jump on something. I try and abolish any of the fear mongering when we do that onboarding meeting for buyers too, to say, let's just stay focused on your needs. This is about you. Don't worry about this. I'll take care of that other end of it. If that's a real thing, if that's a real trend that's happening, I'm going to make that part of our buying strategy. And if it's part of the selling strategy and you think that you're just going to get rich off of somebody's fear, you have the wrong agent. Yeah, I won't market your property though. I'm not selling somebody a house because they're scared. I'll call the police for them instead. Like it's just such a crazy thing to think that somebody would be. And it's always, well, some guy, and I don't know who some guy is. He's always a guy, which is very gender specific, but some guy from the city is going to come with a duffel bag full of money. If there is some guy from the city with a duffel bag full of money, I promise you, he didn't get it by being dumb. So that some guy isn't there. And why does he specifically only want your crappy house? You know what I mean? Let's talk about what you really have. Let's market it to all the great people that want to own your awesome home. And instead of just some guy from the city is going to be tired of COVID and tired of stuck in his apartment. So he lived in an apartment and he had a duffel bag full of money. This just doesn't sound right. So there's one of those misconceptions we were talking about. This is a big one, but it was very fear driven. And we did a lot of those onboard meetings where we're like, just slow down. What do you want? What do you need? And it was huge. It was huge. But I've really been able to, even the agents that I work with now, they're in the same boat with me. They're just like, yeah, this was crazy. Why would people think like that?
Yeah. It's what they hear, what they see. It's like a lot of people, their life is stuck on social media.
If you think of the stuff that people are believing nowadays, it's like,
well, what it is there's a lack of human communication. See, the thing is that's great about these live chats, we're actually having a conversation. Regardless if we're not together, we're still having a conversation.
Not a sound bite.
It's just not us posting and arguing endlessly. It's another whole topic and stuff, but it's the misconceptions that we're all seeing now. Yeah. So I'm a big, well, not really me. I'm going to blame my girlfriend for this. but she really loves the real estate, Beverly Hills real estate, all these different real estate shows where they're flipping homes and there's
my mom and my sisters love them too.
Selling them for 10 times what they bought them for, and they're a lot of shit show, whatever. How real is this? Is this like, how fabricated do you believe? I don't know if you've watched them, so I don't know.
So our brokerage was on House Hunters last year. Ann O'Brien was the buyer's agent. I had the listing. And my friend actually was the buyer. Ann O'Brien is in my firm, and her nephew was the buyer, and he bought a house here in Walden, and it was on House Hunters, and that was pretty legit. I mean, it went the way it went. I know a lot about, I know a lot about local reality shows, I should say, and my friend, a producer I'm actually friends with, that I may be working on a project in the near future. We're working on something that's going to be like a 10-part YouTube series right now.
We should bring him on.
Well, we'll be talking, because this is actually a cool project. We're going to be doing renovations for people's homes in need. Like if somebody, like a World War II veteran calls and says, somebody tells me this World War II veteran has no hot water because his hot water heater went. We're going to jump in, do the hot water heater, and on our dime, but then also get their backstory and kind of talk to them about it. No drama, no nothing. Just like, hey, we just jumped in. There's actually, I'll go into this off the hair, but it's a really cool story of how this came to be, and I'm very pumped about it. It's going to be called the Marshall Hill Project, and it's really it's more enlightening, because a lot of the reality shows, from what I've been told and from talking to other producers that I'm in the world, it's a little phony, man. You don't collect crayons and make $30 million a year to go afford this house in Beverly Hills. But there's some reality to
Hollyboob.
Yeah, but there are some reality to the flip shows. The flip shows have some reality to it. The money they're making is real. It's very real. Does it take 3 days? No.
Yeah. I always wonder, because I'm in the entertainment business, and we do a lot of stuff like that. And yeah, a lot of, you see like people like, I'm a substitute teacher, and listing that I'm looking for is 2.8 million. And it's just, and I don't believe it. I'm not buying it. Or like, there's these Beverly Hills shows where the real estate agents are dressed like, porn stars, and it's like so cutthroat. Everybody's looking to kill each other and like steal each other's listings from each other. I'm like, wow, I never knew this could be so
that's
spicy.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
I sit on a panel of realtors. One of them is from down south. The other one is from out in San Diego. And we do a little bit too on social media. I'm actually on their forum for that. And when I hear how business, because they'll hear that I sell about 100 homes a year, right? But they're 100 like $200,000 homes, not like they sell $2 million homes. That's like me selling 20 homes, So
yeah.
Wow.
When they're like, how do you have sleep or a family or 100 homes? That's crazy, They would not sell 100 homes in their whole career. So it is very competitive, though, because they can't lose a listing, and they do dress the part. They do what they got to do.
And out there, looks are, in Hollywood in general, it's the shinier the better. It's
listen,
true.
Dickie probably looks like a male supermodel on each of his calls. Probably goes there, he unbuttons the top button. There's a little bit of chest hair showing, tattoos.
No, tattoos. Got to show a couple more tattoos. That's all.
But I really want to end it on a inspirational note. What advice would you give to interested people looking to start a new career in real estate?
Don't talk to one person. Get a few opinions, and make sure that when you're sitting with them, don't let them talk about their company. Make sure they're asking about your goals. Set very realistic goals your first year, because you're not going to achieve much. But if you're going to get into a career like this, make a 2 to 3 year plan, and do not quit your other hustle. Utilize the sphere around you so that you have people that trust you and that you can trust to build a referral base.
And would you recommend going it alone or doing it through an agency?
Well, you can't go it alone. You have to be an agent for 2 years before you get your broker's license. But I always tell people that are starting out, a lot of brokerages offer mentors or some kind of person that'll split your take with you. You would pay so much more for a college degree. I make a very good living doing this, more than a lot of people I know with doctorates. But I did it by being smart enough to not be the smartest person in the room, and I let people make me better.
It's very true. Very amazing. Very inspirational. How could our audience look you up after the show?
I'm on Instagram at hashtag NY Tattooed Realtor. I'm on Facebook all over the place as Dickie Baxter, or my professional page, Dickie Baxter Karasi Realty. And then you can also check me out if you want to call me, 845-494-4715. And I'm on the Saturday morning cartoons at the License to Sell page, which is also on Facebook. And we do that every Saturday morning, usually 10 or 11 o'clock, depending on the listings.
And just a real quick thing also, if you are a real estate agent already and you're looking for somebody who you need photos or video of your properties to promote it, give me a call.
Look at that shameless production.
I gotta put it out there, man. I gotta put it out there.
It's awesome. But Dickie, thank you so much for coming on tonight. If you ever want to jump onto the conversation, you got something to announce, just hit us up. We'll definitely throw you on the show. It's been really inspirational.
I will definitely be sharing the show. This is such a cool show, and I love the topics. And these were great questions. You guys really, you killed it tonight. So thank you so much.
Thanks, man. You too.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, bro.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
So thank you, guys. I want to thank everyone for watching tonight, and I also have
for engaging too. Like that,
very engaging audience. I have an announcement to make myself. This week, we announced the 3rd Catskill International Film Festival, which will be taking place. It's going to be a virtual event, people, free of charge for anyone to watch films that are going to be from all around the world. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have Q&As, interactive through StreamYard. Save the dates, okay? All right, May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. I hope to see you guys over there. It's CatskillFilmFest.com. And save the dates. Submissions are going to be open February 26th for all the filmmakers watching. If you know a filmmaker, if you know people that are in the process of making a project, if they can make the deadline, tell them to submit. So submissions open on Film Freeway, February 26th, Catskill International Film Festival. I want to thank you guys for watching. We had fun. And next week we have
Bill Sapato. He is public speaker. He runs a lot of mastermind seminars, and I actually met him through a mastermind group. So he's got a lot of good information. So we'll be bringing him on.
Peace and love, people. See you guys.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's. Be romantic.